How is it that you entered into national politics as a person with a disability?
Well, I've entered international politics really in 1997 and was appointed first in the Senate in 1998, and it came largely because of my work amongst governing political organization, and the then Prime Minister saw it fit to appoint me to the Senate. And I was very happy for the opportunity because it really presented an avenue, a platform for me to advocate for issues relating to persons with disability. And it was an absolute delight when I was appointed in 1998.
How do you communicate effectively to non-disabled persons?
Well, you see, what has to happen is that you have to start from the point that these individuals do not know, and because they do not know, they don't understand how to relate. So you have to start from the point of explaining to them how, for example, a person with disability function, how, for example, a person with disability would be able to go to school and learn in that environment, how a person with disability would be able to use the computer, for example, how a person with disability is able to dress him or herself, how a person with disability can cook and so forth at home. Yes. So you have to take your time to explain to these individuals, and you have to do it over and over and over, because they might not get it right at the first time.
True.
And so you have to keep on explaining, and that will help in changing the whole attitude and approach towards persons with disabilities, because it is in explaining that we best communicate with these individuals.
As a parliamentarian, what are some of the various outreach activities you believe that they can become involved in? You know, you are an advocate in your way, but generally, what are some of those outreach activities you believe parliamentarians can, get involved in and give back?
Well, definitely, parliamentarians have to understand that persons with disabilities constitute a major constituent. Based on World Health Organization data, you're talking about 15 to 17% of the global population, which means that there is over 1 billion persons with disabilities living across the world, and out of that, over 80% of them reside in developing countries. So, you're talking about a significant constituent, and so parliamentarians have to take the time to understand the need. They will have to, from time to time, establish special community meetings focusing on persons with disabilities. They can also make sure that at the meetings of the different non-governmental organizations catering to persons with disabilities, they are there to give support to these organizations. They can ensure that, in setting up different committees in their constituencies,
yes,
they integrate and bring persons with disabilities on board. If they are appointing school boards, bring persons with disabilities on board to participate in those schools, because that is how you're going to help to change the culture and the attitude towards persons with disabilities. And likewise, if you have hospital boards to appoint, make sure that you bring in persons with disabilities.
How do you support persons with disabilities to get funding as election candidates, or actually how do you mobilize funding then? Because I'm assuming it may be a little bit more difficult than for a non-disabled person.
So political parties also will have to play a pivotal role in terms of giving support to these candidates to make sure that these individuals have the resources to participate in the political process. And I'm aware that, organizations such as the United Nations have funding facilities to give support to women who are involved in politics. A similar approach could be adopted in terms of funding persons with disabilities. Also, we are moving to the era of state financing of elections, and special provisions could also be made for persons with disabilities who would want to participate in the political process via electoral representation.
How can political parties facilitate and effectively support persons with disabilities as election candidates?
Well, there are a number of ways that political parties globally can do that, because as I pointed out, some of the approaches that they can use in terms of funding, but also there are special ways that they can move to provide some form of percentage or a number of seats locally, regionally, and nationally for persons with disabilities to participate in the political process. Also to make sure that there are communication mechanisms to accommodate persons with disabilities who are involved in the electoral process, and also to ensure that the technological support is given, because a critical means of interacting with the voters will be the use of modern technologies for persons with disabilities. So there are a number of things that the political parties can do to ensure and give support to persons with disabilities who are involved